great story. He started off as a Flash developer, rose all the way through the ranks of Firstborn to become their CEO, and actually led them through their acquisition to Dentsu. If you don't know who Firstborn is, then you're missing out. I personally think they're one of the greatest digital agencies of all time. Incredible work, incredible culture, and just really left a big impact on the industry, and just really just excellent stuff. That's something they should be proud of. Dan has gone out and is now launching a new business. And today we've got a great subject that I think is perfectly relevant for him and something that I'm very passionate about. We're going to talk about building companies, building products, and building great teams. Welcome to another week of Oh Ship. Dan, welcome to the show.
Hey, it's great to be here. It's great to see you, man.
Yeah, I'm glad. I appreciate you hopping in from COVID life. I think you said you're coming in through Connecticut, so normally in the city though, right?
Yeah, normally in the city. I think we're planted here for a while though. So we've
Smart,
got
but
some greenery here, and the family is doing well. So we're
I
all
like
together.
it. It's a good place to hide out. I don't know what it's like to try and birth a new company when you're working remotely, but I love, I obviously give a hell of a plug to Firstborn. I hope any of the Firstborners out there that saw this see the love I've got for that company. But I'd love to hear about your new company, Play. I obviously saw that's part of why I wanted to reach out. I saw the promo for it. I was super impressed, but I'm not going to do it justice. Explaining it like you can.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. So we started Play last year. So the middle of last year, we launched it. We kind of announced it in January. So it's myself, June, who is the former chief creative officer at Firstborn, Michael, who's the founder of Firstborn, and Eric Ang, who is a lead developer at Firstborn. So we're the four partners that launched the venture. And Play it's really June's brainchild and kind of vision that at Firstborn we would build so many mobile products for clients, and we saw this sort of surgence of new design tools, but no one was thinking about using the phone as an input device. So what Play allows teams to do is to design and build mobile products, but directly on their mobile device. So really removing all those proxies and giving creators the ability to create on the medium that they're actually designing for. That's kind of the cornerstone.
I'd imagine that makes it a hell of a lot more intuitive to just kind of be doing it right in context. I also have this kind of vision of, if everyone's doing work on the go, I guess, to be able to build a mobile app on the go is pretty bonkers, when you think about it.
Yep.
And so, Pete, your first beta, are people actively working with it now?
Yeah, so we when we announced in January, we hoped that people would be into the idea, and I think we're a little overwhelmed in a good way. I mean, we had tens of thousands of people that signed up for the beta list, which is kind of crazy. So we're in private beta. We are slowly onboarding teams. So people are actively using it. We've got people at the enterprise using it. We've got students using it. We have freelancers using it, small startups. So getting really good feedback and a lot of positive response. So yeah, it's been great, man. It's been a lot of fun.
That's incredible. Tens of thousands of RSVPs. Well done, mate. That's incredible. I had no idea it was that high, and I feel slightly less irritated that I don't have a beta key now. So I'm going to give you a pass. All jokes aside, what's it like to be first off the CEO of a startup again? I mean, how big was Firstborn by the time you left? And just for context.
At our biggest, we were about 100 people, a little over 100 people. And that was kind of the biggest that we ever got. I think we probably could have, gone a lot larger in size, but I think we wanted to keep that, mid-sized company feel. Now at Play, we're 10 people, but growing. When we first started, it was 4 of us, obviously, in a small WeWork space, raised our seed round a little bit earlier, this year. And we've got 10 people with us now, looking to hire some more people. So, I mean, it's a lot of fun. I mean, we have a few former Firstborners who are working with us. And that's actually proven in these times to be pretty awesome, because we all know how each other works. There's already like people know what the standard is, and I think it allows us to move a lot quicker. So it's been
Mhm.
overall, even though crazy times, it's been,
Yeah.
we feel very
When
grateful
you got
for the
when you got
position
that
we're in.
much history with people, it's just like, you're perfect solidarity and thinking you can not sound corny, but you can, finish each other's sentences kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
But I guess the big difference, I guess, is that when you were at Firstborn and the CEO, obviously you had a product to sell. It's very different being the CEO of a company where you've got something in market. Now you're pre kind of revenue, pre big product launch. What's it like to be the CEO of a startup in that context?
yeah. Well, I think first, we haven't even, right now it's like we're four founders. We haven't even given each other, titles. I mean, I
Yeah,
think,
yeah, yeah,
everyone,
fair enough.
June, June,
That's
yeah,
good. It's a
June's,
good point.
Michael and I
Yeah,
have been, working on the fundraising side of things. June is obviously leading all of the product design and vision,
yeah,
and
yeah,
Eng leading all the tech. But I think sort of the role that I'm playing now, it's back to being a maker,
yeah,
which is sort of like I almost have imposter syndrome in my own company now, because my other partners, June and Ang, are just brilliant like designers and engineers, right? And so I've now got to go back and, we're not trying to scale this business yet. That will come in
yeah,
the future, and I think
yeah.
pretty quickly. But I'm going back to writing support documentation, doing tutorial videos, reaching out to beta, customers, doing qualitative analysis. So it's been fun, but it's gone from there's nothing to manage other than
Yeah.
building this great product. And
Yeah.
so for me to be able to get back to doing a little bit of like the making has been a lot of fun.
When I had my startup guide in the earliest stages, there was not much I could do. I was doing a lot of fundraising, and frankly, I spent most of my time just trying to keep the dev team happy and removing any possible blockers they could have, so they could just make great stuff. But I definitely had this sense of like, look, you guys are doing your thing now, but I'm gonna do my thing when we get a little further out. Do you feel like that's maybe a little bit how the dynamic feels with the team?
Yeah. And I feel like
Yeah,
as I think about the future, June will sometimes say like, I don't need to worry that much because Dan worries enough for all
yeah,
of
yeah,
us. So I feel like I'm always doing a little bit of the thinking about, okay, like what's our pricing strategy going to be?
yeah,
Where are we going to be in 6 months? When do we do public beta?
yeah,
Which is good. And it's not like the other guys aren't thinking about that. It's just that they're able to hopefully focus on doing what they do really, really well. And I'm able to, if I can, contribute to the product as much as I can, but really start to think about how do we turn this great product into a great business.
So is there anything you're having to like immerse yourself in, or just really getting passionate, and maybe you haven't done it in years, or maybe it's something you do all the time, it's something you just kind of knee deep in, to prepare yourself for this new biz?
Yeah, I mean, there was I think two big things. One was I needed to learn design tools again. Like, so I mean, I haven't for years. I didn't use Figma. I didn't use Sketch. I didn't use Adobe because, as the CEO of Firstborn, like I didn't need to do those things that much. So I had to learn all of those tools, like, because those are the tools that our customers are using. So I needed to understand the language that, we were designing for. And then on the flip side, so like that's one part of my brain trying to get used to learning that, and then figuring out like, we never raised money at Firstborn. Like Michael started Firstborn with $200,000 and never put in another nickel after that. And so just raising money, how do you raise money on safes? Do you do safes? Do you do convertible notes? All that whole world. So it's just been a lot of learning, which has been awesome.
Yeah, it's learning all that finance stuff is super interesting, and sometimes I wonder if it's a skill I never wish I had. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah, but it's
raising
fun.
money is
It is
kind of
fun.
like getting a proctology exam multiple times a
Yeah.
week, but it's part of the game. So you know I love this sense that you started as a flash dev, kind of took this transition through the company. Uh, how does someone make a change like that? Or was there some kind of big influence you've had in your life who may have inspired you in some way? Or
Like for me, it was a couple of different things. Like for big changes in life, usually you need something that gives you an opportunity. And I think you usually need something else that gives you a push or guidance, right? If you sort of think about those like bigger moments in your life. So for me, the opportunity part came from Michael. right? Because I started at Firstborn as a Flash developer, making $35,000 a year. And, after a year, I was like, not even after a year, after probably less than a year, I was like, I want to be a producer. And he was
Yeah.
like, just, go back and do your Flash dev work and we'll talk in a year. Right. And then we did. And he stuck to his promises, and he gave me the opportunity to kind of like take my career inside of Firstborn, where I wanted to. So he was the opportunity part of things, and he believed in me and, kind of pushed me. But June actually, funnily enough, was we were outside one day and he was like, Dan, I think you would make a really good project manager. And it was I think both a compliment, but also like, you're really not going to go far with this Flash development thing. Like you're good, but maybe it's not your thing. But I mean,
Was he giving you the "don't quit your day job" speech?
He was 100% right, and so that was sort of like the guidance that I needed, because without that, what would I maybe would have been reading Flash books until, Flash died, and then who knows where I would have been. So it's just funny and it's funny, like those are two of my partners right now, right? Like we've worked together for 15 years and we're still together along with Ang. And, people like that, I think usually stay in your life, and you're better for it. So.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, if you kind of look back at your career at this point, you've had some certainly a lot of really interesting ups along the way. Has there been a kind of either personal a favorite moment of either triumph or failure that you're kind of really sticks in your memory, and any kind of big things you may have learned from that?
Lots of downs too. I think one moment that we thought was going to be a triumph, which did not go our way. But I think it was a pretty interesting learning experience. So the short story is, it was actually with June. We were in a pitch, as we all are, right? In agencies, and you learn a lot through pitches, right?
Yeah, you do.
And so we were on like round 3. It's like, okay, one more round. We wanted to present to the leadership team, and every round we were doing a little bit more work, of course, right? Because can you guys just change this a little bit? But the reason why we were doing it is because the client was like, I think you guys are going to win. I just really want to put you in the best possible position to win. And then it ended up, we were like, all right, we want you to fly to our headquarters, and their headquarters were far, right? I'm going to keep it anonymous, but more than a 10-hour flight.
Yeah.
So we fly there, we do the final pitch, and it was like, you guys I think you nailed it. And so our main point of contact this whole time was really leading us on that. Like we had the inside track, and we were like, yeah, we're totally going to win this. Like and
there's time and money being invested this whole time.
Tons of time and tons of money, right?
Yeah.
And it's between us and another agency, and can you guys just do a little bit more work, because we want you to put the best foot forward, and do the pitch, and they go the other direction. And because we thought it was a slam dunk. But I mean, the learnings for us in the moment, first of all, we were like, we just got played, right? Because like that client was telling the other agency and all the other agencies the same thing.
No pun intended, I assume. You just got played.
Yeah, just like pun intended. But like they were telling the other agencies the same thing, and it's just like to sort of, we're like, wow, like this was just to eke out every win until you really win. And B, you sort of just you really have to know who you're talking to on the other side, because we thought it was going to be a total win, and it was just, a lot of time and a lot of money. It was just poof, just gone.
Out of interest, and by the way, it is a great lesson, I think, and whether you're an agency or not, I think being careful of clients kind of dragging you around by the nose. And the reality is, there are a lot of people out there that, a lot of good people in this world. There's a lot of jackasses too, no other way to say it. And they don't care about you. They're not sensitive about the financial impact it can have on you. I think a lot of people, big companies, they think money is like some magical thing that just kind of comes some imaginary place, versus like when you're dealing with entrepreneurs, and it's like, no, this isn't some like faceless public company. Like that hurt me as as an owner or co-founder or whatever, and the pain that people can create for people. I never forget once being out with a client and they said to me, like, well, just expense it. I'm like, expense it to who?
Yeah.
You
I
know what
am
I
the
mean?
expense. It is my expense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so I'm going to put you on the spot, and hopefully you won't regret this answer later, depending on how you answer. But um, you've broken kind of the gravitational pull of agency land with play. Uh, do you think you're done with agency life? I mean, there's obviously a million things that are great about it. It helped you and I learn an
Yeah.
incredible amount of stuff. But do you think at this point you would kind of intentionally go back to it later, or you think you've already run your course with agency land?
I think it's, you never say never.
Yeah,
I
fair enough.
think there's a reason we didn't start an agency as the next business that we started.
Yeah, fair enough.
Right. And I think we're building something that's not a service business has been really exciting and different. And I think,
Mhm.
we've got some good momentum, and we're going to build play hopefully into a successful company, but hopefully this is the first of more ventures that we'll be able to do. So I would say, maybe not, not that
Mhm.
I love the age. I would never trade it for anything, like
Yeah,
the experiences, the ups, the downs. And but I think the water is just fine over here too, I
yeah,
guess I would
yeah,
say.
I got you.
Yeah.
On a fun note, a little blast from the past, I saw Bill Fletcher just popped up on Facebook saying,
Oh,
"Nice to see you."
nice.
Hi, Bill, right back at you.
Yeah.
If
What's up, Bill?
anyone out there watching right now has any questions or comments, again, feel free to put them in chat, and I'll do my best to react to them. Kind of continue down this thread of like, what if not an agency? Is there any other profession that you would have considered or would like to attempt at this point?
I think like we maybe just something completely different. I do. I've always enjoyed doing close up magic. So maybe maybe
I
that, or
forgot that about you.
you remember that, working as a dealer, in a casino, I think would be fun
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
interesting. And then probably something something with service. Like, I don't know, volunteer firefighter. Like, I think
yeah.
uh, you know something in that world. I think there's
Yeah. That's cool, man.
I think we need
What a
more. I think we
mix,
need
by the
more
way.
entrepreneurs, and I think we need more people who are serving their communities. So trying to
I
maybe
love
do a little
that.
bit more of that.
I'm gonna have to go back to the magic thing though. So I completely forgot about this. I have flashbacks of being in Vegas with you at I think the Soda conference,
Yeah.
and you doing close-up magic in a multitude of different types of bars, and being very entertained by all that. So you're still doing it. Are you even better now? Because you were pretty bloody good back then.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. I mean, I guess the same. I do. I have two young boys,
Yeah.
so I try to.
That's
They're at
your
the age
audience
where
now, your
when they're
practice.
5 and 7, so they're
That's
when they were younger, they could care less. They wouldn't care about it, but now they're sort of into it. So I've got a small young audience who is somewhat forgiving, which is
so if
nice.
if you've got magic in the house and you've got kids that young, I assume that you have to have a Harry Potter side that you've selected, a Harry whatever the house, like the magic house.
Yeah, we've been Harry Pottered out in the house. The kids are all about Harry Potter, as am I actually now too.
Too funny. So again, I love these random places that a ship show goes. You've had a lot of highs, and I was thinking as I was talking about all the great stuff that's happened to you, and along the way, and you have obviously had some hiccups, but is there any, I guess, really key moments or something you failed at that maybe I don't know about, that's something you could share with the audience, that somewhere it didn't go wrong, potential obviously applying to like building a company or a product or a team, and maybe something you've learned from that?
Yeah, I think from a business perspective, I mean, I'm sure we're making a lot of mistakes right now. We just don't know it. So, maybe talk to me next year, and hopefully not too many. But when I look back at sort of agency life, I think the bigger failures were always around people and teams.
Yeah.
Because, and so I guess more specifically for me, I was in a leadership position at a pretty young age, and I was learning as I was going, right? As a lot of us are, as a lot of entrepreneurs do. And that's a good way to learn. But I think the most costly lessons, the biggest failures they were around people. So meaning, and I think there was times that you put someone in a leadership position when they're not ready. So you sort of misread maybe kind of their abilities, or you mistake their abilities, for their passion. Maybe they're really excited, but they're really not that good. And you put them in a leadership position, maybe you don't support them enough.
Yeah.
And I've done
Pretty
that.
confident on
And
that one.
I've learned from that, certainly. And then there's the opposite of that, which I think is maybe even worse, where you look past somebody. And I know I did this as a young leader, hopefully not too many times, but you look past somebody because maybe they're not the loudest voice in the room, or maybe they're not, sort of in your ear as much, and they're actually ready to take on that next opportunity. But you don't see them. And I think what I realize is, like, as you build the business, like, you've got your executive team, and a lot of information gets filtered through that team. And that's a good thing, but it could be dangerous, right? Because, like, you've got to kind of go deep in your organization yourself, because if not, you're getting filtered information. And even if your leadership team is great, everyone has their own bias, everyone has their own perspective. And I think you can miss a lot of opportunities, if you're just getting all that information filtered, through those team members. So I know that there were times I put people in leadership positions, they weren't ready. I know there was times where I probably looked past somebody, but I think the worst leadership failure is keeping somebody in your organization when you know that when you know it's not going to work out for too long, and those are the hardest decisions to make, where you've got to part ways with somebody. Maybe you make a bad hire, and you don't sort of you don't sort of like, retract that, or make a course correction soon enough. Those can be very dangerous, especially in small agency life or any small business. Very dangerous, kind of circumstance. So yeah, I learned a lot from those situations.
One of the things you said that really kind of caught my eye is this concept of you've got these different personality types, right? You can have the people that are slightly more soft-spoken. You can have these big extroverts. When you're evaluating talent within an organization, there's obviously a whole bunch of things you're going to evaluate them on. Capability is probably number one. For me, trust and ethics and reliability and things like that are probably, right up there, if not frankly ahead of the first one. And then there's this team dynamic is such a huge part of it. And is there from your standpoint, any kind of like, does it matter if the first, because you said you're 4 co-founders right now, so should the first hires be big personalities? Should they be more introverted people? Is that a universal rule, or is that about blending with the co-founders and balance things out? Like, is there a strategy to that from how you've tried to build teams in the past?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think with Play, when we started things, we were like, okay, we've learned a lot about hiring. We've learned a lot about building teams. We all know how to work well together. We know what each other's strengths and weaknesses are. And we're able to, because we know that, we're able to work well together, right? And so some of the, I guess I would say, like, the criteria is, we need to understand, whenever we hire somebody new, we need to understand what are their strengths and what are they really bad at, because then we can place them and they can place themselves appropriately inside the team structure, right? But one of the things we realized early on was, like, we also did not want to deal with any drama, and
Fair enough.
and sometimes big personalities or new personalities, you have to feel things out. And so what we've decided to do was recruit people that we've worked with before, that know us, that we know, they know what the standard is, we know how each other works, but we also need to sprinkle in new perspective, right? And so we've hired people that so that blend, we've got a little bit of the familiar, right? Where we've worked with some of these guys for 5-10 years, and then we have new. And it's been a good balance, I think, because we're able to learn from some of the newer folks,
Mhm.
maybe the ways that we think we're doing things are great. And they're like, actually, when I was at this other product company building, a design tool, we did this way. And we'd be like, oh, wow, that's
Mhm.
actually really interesting. Maybe we should adopt that. So
Mm.
it's been a little bit of the blending of those two
That's
things.
really interesting. Yeah, when you start a company, there's this kind of phase you go through where it's like, great, who can I pull from my network, right? And like you
Yeah.
said, you know them, you trust them, you have history with them, you don't have to interview them in the same way, they're a known entity. And never Chameleon Collective, that they used to call that group FOF, Friends of Freddie. And then it was like, and I think, for better or worse, that there was a dynamic that was created where people were saying, hey, I feel like I'm on the periphery, or I feel like I'm not getting the same potential opportunities because I'm not part of this group that's known each other for 8 or 10 years or 15 years or longer, frankly, in some
Yeah.
cases. Um, take the opposing side of that, and it's super important to inject new thinking. I do agree that there's no drama, there is speed, there's efficiency, there's
Yeah.
lots of wonderful things that come with a really tightly knit team that's worked together. But I do think, at least using my own company as a reference, Chameleon Collective is better for the fact that we've now introduced these new voices. And for the record, we had slightly more churn with some of the new people because now you're testing out
Exactly.
new connections and new chemistry and new team sense of teammates and so on. But it's just part of what you have to do. If you had now you've got four co-founders that really know each other really well, friends of Freddie, or the dudes of Dan, or whatever you want to call it, there's own group. So like you can make sure that it doesn't feel clicky, I guess is the word. Is there a trick to that, or to make sure that you're just creating and building the best team you can?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there is a real risk of the things feeling clicky, especially as you grow. Like right now, there's a couple things. Like we're still pretty small in terms of number of people. We're not like 100 people. We're all working remotely, right? So there's
I
less.
want to jump on that next, by the way, but keep going.
Yeah. So right. So like there, but you have to be conscious of that. Like you have to be conscious of if you're 30 people and 20 of the 30 people have worked with one another before or know one another, if you're not conscious of that, those 10 people are going to feel like outcasts, like with like 100% of the time. And you're going to create, even inadvertently, you're going to create a different, sort of tribes inside. Recognizing that is like the first step, being open to new ideas, new perspectives, and realizing that there's value that those other people that you're hiring are going to bring, going to bring to the table. It's very challenging right now, I think, for anyone starting a business. And maybe we'll go there next, but like with the remote situation, like we're interviewing people on Zoom. Like for me, like food is a big part of my life, right? I'm Italian. I like food. I
Yeah,
like to cook. If I can't get through a meal with somebody, it's not going to work, right? Like that
yeah,
would be the end interview. The last interview would always be a cup of coffee, get a beer. If it's a big hire, like we're probably sharing a couple dinners together, right?
yeah, agreed.
And like that needs to feel good. We don't need to be best friends, but I want to see how you treat the wait staff. I want to see
Mm-hmm.
how you handle yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and you can learn a lot about people when you take them out of the office and put them in the real
Yeah,
world. And
yeah,
like, it's hard to do that kind of stuff now,
yeah,
and you can't get together and celebrate wins like before. You're not going out to the bars and everything. So it's, we're all going to have to adapt, but it's a very different time to build a team for sure.
mm. Yeah. I was just gonna say that I think, even again, Chameleon Collective, we've been virtual for 5 years, and the way that we have mitigated some of those challenges is we were, typically in Florida, but in other places of the world as well, and just got everyone together. So even though we spent a lot of time talking like this, we also had that time to share at least a couple meals a year together, even though we literally are all from all over the world. Um, and this year, even though I think we're probably more used to working virtually than 99.9% of companies out there, it's kind of a drag. It's kind of a bummer. There's all these new chameleons that have joined the company, and I've never hung out with them in person. some of them, frankly, I spend so much time on video with some of them, I think I forget who I've even met in person at this time, which is kind of surreal in its own way. But there is a certain part that's just not replaceable.
Yeah.
And I think if I was at the really beginnings, of my company, that would be really hard. I don't have a solution for you on that. Uh, we should regroup after the holidays, and I don't want to ruin it for any of the chameleons who may be watching right now. But we're trying to recreate something really special and really interesting for the company holiday party, but yet still completely virtual. And
Yeah.
so, I think you almost have to try just extra hard. But then everyone starts to get Zoom fatigue. I think, there was a time where I felt like they were doing a lot of cocktail hours after work. And I think that even now, if you were like, I'm okay. Like, I think there's a little bit of a burnout
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah. Enough Zoom cocktail hours. No, it's
Yeah,
weird, man. It's like,
and that's anything, frankly.
I think like there's the things about just missing the subtle interactions in the office, but like also like I miss my teammates. We still see each other. We try to get into the office once every week, every other week. We're safe. We wear masks. We do all that stuff. But like I miss like embracing my teammates. Like I miss like being like, hey, what's up, man? Like giving each like you have a long week.
Are we
So
both huggers? Is that what you're trying to say, Dan? We're huggers.
I'm
I'm
a
a
hugger
hugger.
for sure. I'm a hugger.
I do
But
miss a
like
good hug. Got to be honest.
I miss that, like I miss seeing my teammates. I miss like, the idea of welcoming a new team member and like going out and getting a beer and like, when are we going to be able to do that? So it's different.
That's hilarious. Well, I've decided I'm gonna ask you a bunch of random questions.
All right.
What is your favorite color?
Oh, I don't know. Blue.
What's your favorite sports team?
Uh, Rangers, New York Rangers.
Good. I wouldn't be able to answer that one. I have to make up a fake one because I'm so garbage at sports. Actually, that's not true. Probably Crystal Palace.
Or the Yankees,
And
but yeah.
what is your favorite sound?
So it would be so this is a new if you asked me 4 years ago, it'd be different. Now my answer is silence.
When you have a
So
baby or something?
so no so a couple of years, so I have tinnitus. So like that
Oh,
ringing, that where you have ringing in your ear. So I have ringing in my ear all the time. Like it doesn't go away. It will probably never go away.
yeah.
So, and it's fine. It
So,
is. I just don't think about it. So it's like the thought of never having silence ever again in my life. Like even when it's perfectly quiet, I hear the ringing. To be honest, if you think about it too much, like you go a little crazy.
well, no.
But yeah, if I could just have silence back, that would be amazing.
I don't think this person would mind me disclosing him. It's been another guest of our ship, Juan Carlos Morales, who, funny enough, also started as a Flash developer and then had a very illustrious career, just like you have had. He has it, and I think he's okay now. He learned to deal with it. Sounds like you have as well, but he was kind of losing it for a little while there. So
Yeah,
my
it
heart goes
screws
out
you
to you on
up.
that one. I'm glad you've got a guy who got a grip on it. I have a sneaky suspicion that now you've got a new, I said, oh, have you got a baby? You have got a baby in the sense of this new company.
Yeah,
I have a sneaky suspicion that your mind very rarely goes quiet these days, as you're probably waking up thinking about it, going to bed thinking about it.
very
Um,
true.
I really enjoyed today's conversation. I've always loved chatting with you. I'm really excited to see how play is going. I really wanted to make sure that I start sucking up to you and Michael now. So when you're really, really, really rich, when you sell it, I can start mooching off you guys. It's gonna be great.
I hope so. I
All
hope you're
jokes
right.
aside, I feel really, really confident. You guys are gonna do great with that. I thank you for going on the show. And if anyone who's watching right now has a question or comment they want to leave, please leave it in the comments section. It doesn't matter whether you're watching the show live or not. We will take a look at it. If I can forward it to Dan, I can have him answer in the comments. Please go for it. For all of you watching, I hope you enjoyed yourself. And please give us a like or follow, depending on what social platform you're on. Leave a comment, share it with your friends. Anything you can to support the show is really and truly appreciated. And
Thanks,
Dan,
Freddie.
thank you again. You're the best.
Yeah,
That was great
thanks
fun.
for having me, man. It was great. It's great to see you. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Take care.